Go.
Okay, so what if your brain could communicate with someone else's brain without you being consciously aware of it? It sounds like some sci-fi fantasy, but it's actually a real phenomenon. We have these special neurons in our brain, and neurons are cells which transmit information to other parts of your body. And these mirror neurons are involved with things such as mind reading empathy. They're involved in being able to engage in imitation learning. And they're also involved, or they might be the catalyst that trigger the evolution of human language, culture, and civilization as we know it. So, to be honest, I don't really have a background in neuroscience, and I've never even heard of mirror neurons up until a couple of weeks ago. But I was watching this YouTube video, and it was featuring Dr. Vilanaya Ramachandran, and he's a neuroscientist, and he was talking about these mirror neurons, and it was just so fascinating. I felt like, man, I want to share this with other people, and since you guys are forced to listen to me, I'm going to share it with you guys. So we're going to start off with an overview of the human brain. What is it? Why does it matter? I'm going to talk about mirror neurons and how your neurons can connect with someone else's mirror neurons. And I'm going to finish with what is called the Great Leap Forward, the explosion of human culture and civilization. So, isn't it amazing how, we have this little lump of flesh that's about 3 pounds, can fit into the palm of your hands, but it's capable of doing such incredible things. It can contemplate the meaning of infinity. It can ask questions about the nature of its existence, and it can even fathom the vastness of outer space. So our brain is composed, or has, about 100 billion neurons, and each of these individual neurons makes something like 1,000 to 10,000 contacts with each other. So the astonishing thing is that someone did the calculations, and they found out that the number of possible permutations and combinations of brain activity actually far exceeds the number of elementary particles in the universe. So there was a fairly recent discovery by Giacomo Rizzolatti and his colleagues in Italy, and they found this special population of neurons located in the frontal lobe of our brain, and they're called mirror neurons. And these differ from the ordinary motor neurons that we've always known to us. These are motor command neurons, and they work that whenever I perform a specific action, a certain motor neuron will fire in my brain. So let's say I reached out and grabbed an apple. Some neurons in my brain will fire telling me that I'm reaching out and grabbing an apple. If I reached out and touched someone, another neuron will fire in my brain telling me that I'm reaching out and touching someone. Well, what Rizzolatti and his colleagues found was that a special population of these neurons will actually fire when I'm watching somebody else perform the same action. So we have this neuron here that fires when I'm reaching out and touching something, but it'll also fire when I'm watching Akira reach out and touch somebody. So in effect, these mirror neurons are what dissolves the barrier between you and other human beings. It's like your brain is adopting the point of view of another person. It's almost like your brain is performing a virtual reality simulation. And this becomes really important in imitation learning, because in order for someone to imitate a complex action that's being performed by another person, your brain has to adopt the other person's point of view. So it's like you're being able to empathize with other people. You're able to see things from their point of view. And that's why mirror neurons are also called Gandhi neurons. And Gandhi neurons are important because they're involved in imitation and emulation. So what this essentially means is there's no real distinction between your consciousness and the consciousness of someone else, because, of course we're all connected to each other through Facebook or the internet or the email, but we're also quite literally connected to each other through our neurons. So there are neurons all throughout this room communicating with each other, talking to each other, and yeah, I don't know, I think it's really cool. So why does the ability to imitate a complex action become important? Well, about 100,000 years ago, something really wonderful happened. There was this emergence and rapid spreading of certain skills that were unique to human beings, such as tool use, building shelters, making fires. Importantly, we had the development of language, and we also have this thing called the theory of mind, which is we are able to empathize with other people and interpret their behaviors. You're able to see why they're doing what they're doing. So all of these human skills evolved really rapidly, about 100,000 years ago, but we reached the current size of our brain about 400,000 years ago. So why is there such a time discrepancy? Why did our brains reach our current size 400,000 years ago, but we didn't start acting like humans up until 100,000 years ago? Well, Ramachandran postulated that it was because of the evolution of this specialized mirror neuron system that allows us to imitate complex actions of other human beings. So let's say we have one individual member of the group, and he somehow discovers how to make fire. Instead of this behavior just dying out, it would rapidly spread horizontally throughout the population. So one member would copy another member who would copy another member. And it could also spread vertically from parent to child. And the interesting thing about this is that this type of evolution is Lamarckian in nature, instead of Darwinian. And Darwinian evolution is characterized by being an extremely slow and extremely gradual process. So for example, who knows exactly how long it took the polar bear to evolve that thick winter coat? A human child could just watch their parents slay a polar bear, skin it, and then put its coat on for warmth. You know, what the polar bear took 100,000 years to evolve, this human child could learn in just moments. You know, it happens in just one step. So it was the ability to imitate complex skills, which is the driving force for human civilization as we know it. So in closing, we talked about the human brain and all of its wonderful complexities. We talked about how your mirror neurons can connect with other people's mirror neurons and why that allows us to, like, why we even came here in the first place. It's because of this ability to imitate other people. I finished with the Great Leap Forward. You know, that was the flourishing of human culture and civilization, and many neuroscientists believe that it was because of these mirror neurons, or these Gandhi neurons. So in closing, I'd just like to say that people have always thought of science and humanities as two distinct entities. You know, they never thought the two would ever meet together. But the interesting thing is that these Gandhi neurons somehow brings these two cultures together. It brings like an interface together. So the next time you ever find yourself wondering, you know, wondering about human consciousness, wondering about how you guys even got here in the first place, just remember it was all thanks to these little Gandhi neurons. Thank you very much.